Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're diving into a truly fascinating piece of modern media. If you've spent, any time at all scrolling through your feeds lately, you've probably stumbled across this intense, highly authoritative religious messaging that just totally blends with the fast-paced nature of the internet. Well, we're going to unpack the architecture of one of these algorithmically delivered messages, specifically looking at a recent transcript from a channel called Jesus Path. Now, to be clear, we aren't here to debate theology. No. Instead, we're going to impartially map out the exact rhetorical strategies this text uses to absolutely captivate its audience. We'll look at how it hooks your attention, builds this sweeping emotional narrative, and ultimately drives engagement. So let's get into it, because the structure of this message is just a masterclass in digital communication.
Okay, let's dive into this right at the very first second. The transcript doesn't politely ask for your time, it literally commands it. You are not allowed to skip this, and I am serious. Think about the digital landscape we live in, where our average attention span is measured in fractions of a second. This text uses an incredibly forceful, authoritative hook. By explicitly telling you that you are not allowed to scroll away, it abruptly disrupts that passive habit of swiping. It creates this sudden, almost jarring sense of urgency, right? And then adding, "and I am serious," well, that removes any ambiguity. It establishes right off the bat that this isn't just casual content, it's a directive. It completely flips the power dynamic between the screen and the person holding the phone.
Moving right into Part 1, the divine appointment.
So, once the text has successfully stopped you in your tracks, it starts reframing exactly how you found this message in the first place. It deliberately recontextualizes your random internet scroll as a predestined event orchestrated by heaven. Think about your normal routine online. You open an app, an algorithm serves you a stream of data based on your past clicks, and you just passively consume it. But this transcript aggressively pushes back against that mundane reality. It basically tells you, hey, this isn't random, I brought you here. It takes that invisible hand of the recommendation algorithm and swaps it out for the intentional hand of the divine. And wow, this is just a brilliant rhetorical pivot, because it instantly elevates the stakes of what you're watching. It tells you that this specific digital experience has a profound cosmic purpose.
And this brilliantly illustrates the point. By stating, out of all the messages you could have seen today, this is the one that reached you. That was not coincidence. The message makes you feel uniquely seen, like you are specially chosen. It assigns this deep spiritual weight to the simple act of clicking a thumbnail. The text specifically notes that heaven aligned this moment. That kind of language, it completely transforms you from an anonymous user lost in a sea of millions into the central protagonist of a divine narrative playing out right there on your screen.
Which brings us to Part 2, Sensing the Spiritual Shift.
Let's move to and see how this builds into what I'd call a diagnostic phase. The transcript starts listing these highly universal feelings, but it frames them as specific, diagnosed spiritual symptoms. It tells the viewer things like, lately you have felt something shifting inside yourself, or the people around you feel different, and your spirit has been restless. Let's be real. These are incredibly common human experiences, especially in our stressful, fast-paced world. Who among us hasn't felt weary, or restless, or maybe afraid of past disappointments? By listing these broad emotional states, the message casts a super wide net. It pretty much ensures that almost anyone watching will recognize themselves in at least one of these points. You hear it and think, wow, yes, that is exactly how I feel. And that realization builds immense trust in the speaker's authority.
To really cement that emotional connection, the text sets up a very powerful contrast. On one side, it completely validates your history of being let down by life. It acknowledges the pain, the confusion, and the delays that made you question everything. But then, on the other side, it offers this absolute, ironclad guarantee that this time is different. And why? Well, according to the transcript, the upcoming breakthrough was written long before the pain ever occurred. This rhetorical contrast serves an absolutely crucial psychological function. It acknowledges your valid skepticism, which, is totally natural after past trauma, but it simultaneously neutralizes that skepticism by promising that the impending success is a pre-written, unalterable fact.
All right, let's look at Part 3, Tactics of the Enemy.
Because every good narrative needs a conflict, right? Here, the message frames everyday struggles, things like anxiety, distraction, and emotional exhaustion, as active spiritual warfare. It objectively reports to the viewer that an enemy senses heaven moving around their life and is actively trying to put a stop to it. Look at the symptoms listed here: pressure on the mind, sudden increases in distractions, intentional emotional exhaustion. Again, very common modern ailments.
But by attributing them to a targeted attack by a spiritual enemy, the transcript accomplishes two massive things. First, it externalizes any guilt or frustration you might feel about being anxious. It's telling you, hey, it's not your fault, it's an attack. And second, it paradoxically frames your current suffering as actual proof that a massive blessing must be right around the corner.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it perfectly visualizes the deep dichotomy running through this entire transcript. On one side, you have heaven purposefully aligning moments, bringing peace and orchestrating this predetermined shift. And on the other, you have the enemy desperately deploying fear and distractions to block that upcoming season. This binary framing leaves absolutely no room for gray areas. Your everyday internet scrolling and your daily anxieties are no longer just mundane occurrences. The text turns them into the literal battleground between immense cosmic forces fighting over your immediate future.
And that leads us to the final act, Part 4, the unstoppable breakthrough.
So the crucial point here is how the message uses this specific rhythmic repetition as we hit the climax of the narrative. Read these 3 points with me. No delay canceled it, no mistake destroyed it, no person can block what heaven already decided for you. This is a classic rhetorical technique known as anaphora, repeating the same word or phrase at the beginning of successive clauses. It creates this hammering, undeniable rhythm. It systematically dismantles your deepest insecurities step by step. Worried you waited too long? No delay canceled it. Worried you messed up? No mistake destroyed it. Worried about people against you? No person can block it. It is just a comprehensive, rhythmic dismantling of doubt.
We then hit the absolute emotional zenith of the source material. The waiting season is ending, the heaviness is breaking, and the shift you prayed for is finally beginning. The transcript frames this exact moment as the direct, tangible answer to a sign that you had supposedly been praying for in silence. And notice the shift in tense here. Earlier in the text, things were about to happen, but now, the waiting is ending, the heaviness is breaking. It pulls that promised future directly into the present moment. For a viewer who has stayed engaged through the whole message, it offers this incredible wave of immediate emotional relief.
Finally, we reach the call to action. The transcript issues its closing instructions. Breathe again, trust again, believe again. Now, these are deeply intimate, personal, spiritual acts of surrender and hope, but notice the fascinating addition at the very end of this sequence, which, by the way, was also planted earlier in the text. Comment Amen. This right here perfectly encapsulates the unique nature of this digital medium. It seamlessly blends profound emotional and spiritual catharsis with a highly specific request for digital engagement. By commenting Amen, the viewer is simultaneously making a personal declaration of faith and providing the algorithmic engagement that ensures this video will be pushed out to the very next scrolling user.
So, that leaves us with a final, really profound question to ponder. Why are we so powerfully drawn to digital messages that promise our waiting season is finally over? The transcript we analyzed today is incredibly potent, largely because it speaks directly to a universal human exhaustion. It offers a sense of order in what is often a chaotic digital world. It promises that our pain is seen, our mistakes are erased, and our breakthrough is totally guaranteed. By breaking down the structure of this message, we get a much clearer understanding of not just how these digital prophecies operate, but the deep human yearnings they so successfully tap into. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep analyzing, and I will catch you in the next one.